Good morning, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. And I am happy you're here. It is a hump day. It's Wednesday morning, about 5 o'clock on the West Coast. 6 o'clock around that, because we do not celebrate daylight savings like the rest of the country does. So here it is, 6 o'clock. Throws me off, people. I'm telling you, I liked it better when we were all at 5 o'clock. This 6 o'clock thing, it's got me all jammed up on East Coast, West Coast time. The not celebrating daylight savings things is a mess up. I spent a little time this morning over on Tommy Stiggs' show. I've talked about that before. If I got a mod that can throw a link up to Stiggs. Stiggs is just, it just reminds me of the people that I grew up with, you know what I mean? And it's just the neighborhood show. It's a great show. It's just a lot of fun. It's just people hanging out, and it's really nice people, and it's and it just makes me feel, it's honestly, there's something very homey about it. But every time I go over there, Stiggs is like, "Hey man, throw your link up. You know, I know you got a show coming." I'm like, "Bro, I don't know how to throw a link up. Like, I can't do any of the things that YouTubers do. I can't." And I think sometimes people think I'm joking, but I got like training wheels YouTube. I can sit in front of the camera, right? And I could touch like 3 buttons to get this baby running. And I had to have somebody come in and set that up so that I could do the 3 button setup. And I have a dedicated machine that just does thumbnails. That's all it does. It's a completely different computer, and it's done via, everything I do is touchscreen. There's nothing I own or mess with or have anything to do with that isn't touchscreen. Laptops, like if there's a touchscreen refrigerator, trust me, I'm going that route, right? Because I get the, can we get some thoughts and prayers for Nolene? Because physio's not always fun. That can be tough. Never really understood daylight savings time. It gives us more light in the summer when there's already extra light, right? It may not have been, they may not have chosen the words well. Hello, Zen Wen, my friend. Good to see you. Well, we're glad that you're here. We are really glad that you're here. I think the theory behind daylight savings, right, was that when they came out with it, there were a crap load of farmers, right? Like the vast majority of people in this country farmed. And we grew enough food for the entire planet about 6 times over, right? That's who we used to be, and that's what we used to do. And I don't know, we just sold off 280,000 acres of our majestic farmland to the beast that is sending us fentanyl. They send us fentanyl, right, and kill our kids. And in return, we let them buy up our farmland and take our food. And by the way, they're buying up farmland on every other continent on planet Earth. It is worthy of maybe taking a look at. So, how is everybody this morning? Do we have anybody that is struggling? I have been doing a lot of screaming about being our brother's keeper this holiday season. It costs me views. Nobody wants to hear it, but I don't really care because I've never really cared about views. Honest to God, I haven't. I mean, we get really, really lucky that there's a lot of cool things that we are in, right? Like our foot is in enough very interesting, I am so sorry, Shadell. Am I saying that right? Shadell, I am so sorry. You are among friends. You're going to find a lot of people here that have lost loved ones to fentanyl. That drug was never intended to be used the way it's being used. We did a show here the other day about first of all, thoughts and prayers for your family. But we did a show on the Sacklers the other day. And they're about to... Okay, send me an email. Oh my God, this blows so much. Got to tell you, my Drop in Subutex project is so close to an end, and I'm freaking out, man. Good for you, man. Good for you. Send me an email. I would love to bring you on and talk about that. That is the people that successfully wean off of Subutex or Suboxone or any of the drugs that could pull back out. Shadell, I do not blame you. I just want you to know that I'm out there throwing crap at those people, and I'm going to keep doing it for you for the rest of my time on this planet. I don't blame you for not watching it. I don't want anybody to watch something that's going to trigger them, but I'm going to keep taking shots at the Sacklers for the rest of my time on this planet, right? I don't like the Sacklers. I don't like the Church of Scientology. I don't like people that bully other people, and I don't like people that tear apart families, and I don't like people who get away with crap, right? And the Sackler family got away with killing 900,000 people. And not only did they get away with it, but they made $13 billion in the process. And their deal is going to be, I'm going to give you 6 of that back. Keep 7. Right? Let me say that again. I'm going to give you $6 billion of that for killing 900,000 people. Right? Or more. We know that many have died. How many there that have really, how many lives have been destroyed? I mean, I went to prison for 13 years behind this crap, right? I was doing their drug, which I could not get addicted to, at 12 of them a day. I can't watch cameras with any. I can't watch movies with more than one camera. If you really want to know the truth, I can't watch movies. I can watch films that were shot in, or television shows that were shot in the 70s. What happened is, I did too much skiing, right, competitively, and screwing around and just being an idiot. And between that and football and prison and the streets, I got a lot of concussions. So I have a thing that medicine calls cerebral infarction. And once I'm dead, they'll call it chronic traumatic encephalopathy. But you can't diagnose somebody with that without slicing their brain into really thin little slices and putting them on slides. But it's the same thing that happened to Junior Seau, and a lot of other NFL football players, where you just take too many shots to the dome. And I started sitting on the couch one day. Well, it wasn't a couch; it was a plastic chair. But I was sitting and watching a prison TV from inside my cell. I don't go in the day room and watch television, because you got to put these things in, right? Except they have wires, but you got to put headphones in order to watch TV. And I ain't letting anybody get behind me, especially if I can't hear, right? So eventually I got a cell that faced the television, right? Literally, like the door was open and the TV was right in front of it. So I bought a remote control from a guy that made remote controls, believe it or not. All it could do was go up and down, but he could make you an RF that would turn the TV up and down. And I could sit there all night long, right, if I stayed up, and I could watch television. And I got so excited because I hadn't watched TV in a really long time, and I watched one of the Fast and Furious movies. And because of how fast all of the editing happens, you don't see a clip of film anymore in a movie for more than 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. When they're filming, the chase scenes and the car scenes, you're seeing 2.5 seconds of film linked together, right, to make up 5 minutes. And my brain won't process that. I'll get a migraine headache in about 1.5 minutes. My brain just can't do it. It can't take all of those images and reassemble them into something that's real. I see all of those different images being cut together. That's how the brain, I don't know, but that's what I see, and it causes migraines like you wouldn't believe. So I watch a hell of a lot of documentaries, right? I watch a hell of a lot of movies that were shot prior. Old movies were shot with very few cameras. And if you go back and watch it, it's beautiful, man. It's a different art form. It really is. The way that they made movies in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Stiggs today over on the show I was talking about when I first started today, Tommy Stiggs. They're talking about the movie The Godfather. We did all of our 100 movie shows. I can watch most of those. It's the new ones I can't watch. And I tried, because a very close friend of mine who is a second-gen Scientologist said to me, you've got to see this movie, Vanilla Sky, because this movie was made while Tom Cruise had stepped away from the church and was like almost missing in action kind of a thing. And that makes that movie a lot more strange. Now, what I normally do when somebody tells me something like that is I listen to the movie, right? Because honestly, you'd be really surprised after watching movies your entire life, if you sit and listen to one, how much your brain will just fill in. Honestly, like you get mental images of what's going on. We're pretty slick creatures. Our gray matter does amazing things. So I will listen to a film if it's something that's like a really big deal that a lot of people are talking about. I'll listen to it. And it's great if I listen to it with Johnny, because Johnny would be like, "Oh, dude, she blew the top of the guy's head off." Like he narrates the hell out of it anyway if the two of us are sitting together. But I can't really watch it. If a movie was filmed, even if it's a romantic comedy, if it was filmed today, I probably can't watch it, because all of them are just really just too, I don't know, too fast, I guess. I hope there's a lot of lives today, because I need it. Gotta stay sober, gotta stay sober, gotta stay sober. Angie, ask and you shall receive. How's that? We'll get a bunch of stuff up here today. And do not forget, mods, right? Do this for me. Do not forget that you also have, I need a meeting. Miss Dragon does great stuff. There are good content creators out there where you will get into the comment section and you can get connection. Doesn't have to be somebody up talking about drugs. It has to be, or sorry, squirrel. I just decked her right in the head by gesturing right as she jumped. Poor kitty. But it's about connection, right? And you can connect in the comments section at Stigs, right? It's the exact same kind of people. Fantastic people who, if you say, you know what, I'm having a really bad day, they're going to go, "Oh man, I'm sorry," right? You know, the kind of people that are all positive individuals that seem to be pulling in a positive direction. You know what I mean? That's why I love Stig's channel. It's why, if you hear me talk about a channel on YouTube, trust and believe you can go over to it without being offended, right? I don't bring up and recommend channels of people that you're gonna go over there and be offended by, or you're gonna go over there and find a group of people that are wildly different than the audience here. If I'm talking about somebody else, like that AA Run, almost all of you here came from AA Run. You know that it's a pretty similar audience, right? We may be talking about different subject matter, but it's a very, very similar audience. Okay. So if you start looking around, the beautiful thing today is that there is live feed, long form live feed stuff going on around the clock. I mean, there really is. And it is a form of connection. I think our connection is a little different. I really do. I think our connection is a little different because we all do share a certain knowledge, a certain street smarts concerning what's going on in this world. For instance, oh my God, this blows so much, says, "How bad is the fentanyl problem in the USA? I've heard terrible things and it's worrying. I'm watching like a hawk from Europe." Well, let me tell you something. I'll tell you, because it's coming to you. I promise. I promise. I'm already working with a ton of people in Europe that are already seeing trank. So trank has jumped the petri dish that is the United States of America, and trank is being found in parts of Europe, which means it will very, very shortly be found in Australia and everywhere else. Could I get somebody to put up the link to Tommy Stig's social club so that everybody can find it? Go over there and give him a follow. I promise you're gonna come back and thank me. It's a really cool program. It really is. And he goes on right before I do, and then he does a night program, and they line up perfectly. You know what I mean? Like I'm always on Stigsy's before I come here. When I'm doing show prep, I'm usually if I'm not in his comment section talking, I'm certainly in his comment section. I mean, I'm there. I'm just not talking. But I go to Stigsy's every morning before I do the boat. It's a great way for me. Stiggs talks like an Italian because he's an Italian, right? And there's a lot of Italians in the social club. And look, you like the way I sound, then you're probably going to like the way he sounds, right? It's we tend to, Northeast Italians tend to sound, we have a kind of a sound, right? The way we communicate. Atypical Paul, you're absolutely, I'm in 100% agreement. I love this concept that there should be something going live to support people, whether it's addiction or tendencies. Sorry, see, that is my, I'm telling you, it's touchscreen. Or if it's unaliving yourself tendencies, etc. I get up very, very early every day. Maybe I could do something like that. Well, then, Atypical Paul, get something fired up and running. I recommend anybody that has ever felt even the remote tinge that I ought to be sitting in front of a camera. I'll do a damn show called How to Get a YouTube Channel Up and Running if you guys want me to, because this isn't a zero-sum game. You understand? If one of you were to start a channel and call it something, Sobriety Nation or Sobriety Island instead of a boat or whatever, and you got to 150,000 subscribers by the end of next Friday, I would be high-fiving you and I would be talking about your show around the clock. It's not about anybody getting to the finish line. It's about all of us not dying and living a life without drugs. I would love it if there were 40 shows like The Boat that gave people an opportunity to go for connection that were bigger than me. I'd love that. And I would be especially cool if it came from people within the boat. That would be the greatest thing of all time. I'm not someone who is anti-drug, but I'm definitely telling my kids about how things have changed and that street drugs are simply not safe because of fentanyl mixing. Amy, I think that's a really, really solid approach. I'm not anti-drug. How does that grab you? I'm not anti-drug. Plain and simple. I told my sponsor in line, Tommy said, and she was blown away by it. He said, the opposite of addiction is connection. Never thought of it that way until then, but it makes sense in the world. Angie, I stole that. Make no mistake. I will never, ever say that I did something if I stole it. I'm a public speaker. I don't know who I stole it from originally because everybody has stolen it. I read it in a book. I don't remember whose book it is anymore because I read everybody's book, right? I'm struggling with the thought every day. Paula, I'm glad that you're here, right? Come here. We're not suffering in silence for this holiday season. Nobody's going to do it. Oh, yeah, Tammy C. It's an excellent point. Stigsy does he'll do a glass of wine at the end of the night. So if you're triggered by that, definitely be his morning show. Obviously, there's no vino in it, but it's not. There's nothing abusive about it. Some people don't want to see anyone drink, period, maybe especially early on in the game. But there's something very, almost respectful about how the guy does everything he does. I dig Stiggs, I really do. He'll also curse, which I don't do on a boat, right? But it's a social club. What I'm doing here, honestly, is I'm sailing through the ocean of addiction, and we're trying to pick up anybody that fell off the boat. You feel me? There she is. What do you say, Zip? Boy, she is on one this morning. It's like she thinks I've hidden something in this room. You know how cats get like that? Like she's walking around like she's pretty damn sure I've got something hidden in this room and she really wants it. She just doesn't know what it is. Hey, 18 years. People, can we get a little recognition for 18 freaking years? Good Lord, man. How cool is that? Good for you. Good for you. 18 years. People, that's a decade longer than I've been sober. God bless you. I love big numbers. The two best numbers in sobriety, I swear to God, is when somebody tells you one that you're just like, yeah, that's a long time. Whether it's 7 years or whatever, but where you're at in your recovery, you hear it and you're like, that's a long time, right? And the other one is when somebody says, hey, I've been sober, 2 days. Oh, that's literally my drug of choice, is hearing somebody say, you know what, I drank last night, but I'm not going to do it today, or I got high yesterday, but I haven't done it yet today. To me, that's like, man, that's cool, man. So this is the official participation trophy of the Lifeboat. If you've never seen it before, we pull it out because here we celebrate victories. And you know what? You tell me what your victory is. See, this one's real obvious. When someone says, hey, man, I've done 18 years, that's a victory, right? But if you feel like 6 days was your victory, get in here, man. We'll give you we celebrate people's victories, man. We really do. You know why? Because if you go other places, people don't, right? How many of you as addicts have had the experience where you talk to a loved one and you say something like, hey, today is 4 years. I have not had a drink. I've not done drugs. I've not done whatever it is for you, right? I've been sober for 4 years, and you tell a loved one that and they go, oh man, that is so cool. That's awesome. Your aunt's coming over. Please don't bring this up in front of her. You know what I mean? Yeah, but I'm proud of you. That's awesome, right? But don't bring it up when your aunt's here. You know how she gets. Well, that's a suck-ass world to live in, isn't it? The most difficult thing that anyone's going to do as a person, I promise you. I promise you. You know how I know this? Because pick a genre of anybody famous. Pick something. Whether you pick sports, whether you pick, an actress or an actor. I guess they're the same now, right? Just if you pick an actor or you pick a whatever, a musician, and they win a Grammy or they win an Emmy or they're inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or they're given the Lifetime Achievement Award. And then the interviewer says, "What is the greatest achievement of your life?" They say, "Getting sober." Right? Elton John, so many different people that when they get to the pinnacle and they've achieved everything, what's the greatest of all the awards? Now you've got the Lifetime Achievement Award. What is the greatest thing you've ever done? Well, I got off heroin, right? That was the biggest thing I ever did. The rest of this stuff, they're trophies. They're things you hang on the wall, right? They're silver play buttons. But sobriety is the biggest thing you're ever going to do in your life. So when somebody doesn't celebrate that, it hurts, man. It hurts. So it's really cool to have a place where you can come and people go, "Oh, I get that. I get that. I get that 2 days is more exciting than 2 years." Right? I get that. But I get that 18 years is a lifetime of overcoming things that you would have rather not overcome. Right? I'm 8 years sober. Right? And to me, 8 years of sobriety, I think of how many days I said, "I just want to get high today." Right? Today's a day I want to get high. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get through today. To me, it's not about, all of the days, because I'll be honest, people, I don't get that every day. I don't get that most days. I hardly ever have days where I really think about getting high. And it's usually days when something really horrific happens. Jeremy Shelton says, Corey Feldman transcends all acting, singing, and entertainment. He is the comeback king. I'm seriously considering starting the chant to see if he shows up. People, I'm sorry that I pick on Corey Feldman, but I pick on Corey Feldman because he's Corey Feldman. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm really not. If you've ever seen the beginning, the first 4 minutes of Riot Fest, if you've not seen it, then you can't be upset at me for picking on Corey Feldman. By the way, you know something? I have been communicating back and forth with Jack, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time, and he popped up in the comments section here yesterday, and we've been texting back and forth and stuff. So that was kind of cool. That's my running partner from the street. Jack didn't go to prison. Jack managed to stay out. Jack did a lot of getaway driving. I mean, that's really what Jack was doing. And he did it for a bunch of people. He was good at it. But getaway drivers who are good at it don't go to prison. Right? They get away. The Bonfire's review of A Tale of Two Corys is legendary. I don't know this, but if somebody wants to email me a link to it, I would really like that, because I dig a good review of Corey. That Seventh just put a link up to Mark Wages of Wages World. Mark Wages is going to be coming on and doing a show with us. I think it's going to be before the end of this week, where he's going to be talking about what happens in space weather and how it affects people on Earth. Well, you know what? I beg to disagree. I think you're right here asking your family for help right now. You mean you're ashamed to ask your birth family for help? Oh, I get that. I get that. They don't understand. Doesn't make them bad people either, Rosemary. It doesn't. You guys all understand this, right? The fact that a sober person can't understand an addict doesn't make the sober person a bad person. It makes them ignorant. And there's a big difference. People use the word ignorant as if it should mean stupid, and it doesn't. It means you have yet to be educated on a subject. I promise you, my ability to learn, I can learn. I can learn. I can pull information in really, really quickly and then spit it back out. Like that's a skill that I have. I can do this. But if there's something out there that I've never learned, I am ignorant of that subject, right? The vast majority of people walking the planet are 100% ignorant of what it means to be a drug addict. The people that understand are drug addicts. Makes sense, right? Yeah. If you drive a race car for a living, right? That's what you do. 25 years going around in circles, right? Miles an hour, and you quit. on top of the world, right? The most famous of your kind. You're not going to be able to come over to my house and explain to me what retirement is like, right? You're going to be like, well, I'm not working anymore. I'm retired. Yeah, I have no perspective at all for what your life was like. How could I possibly imagine? I could say, hey, bummer. I could be here. I could feel for you. But if you were to sit down with a guy that did the same thing 3 years earlier, whoever was the big baller before you got there that already retired, go have a conversation with that cat and watch how fast you get back on track. Right? Watch how fast you get back on track. Ignorant. It's a completely different thing than stupid. These people aren't stupid. But I understand being ashamed to ask your family for help. Sometimes the family, the people that love us most on this earth, are the worst equipped people in the world to help us. And that's hard for your family. I hope everybody gets that too. You know how hard it is for your family to come to the realization that the people that they have loved you your entire life, or they have loved me my entire life, right? That would do anything for me. And then they find out that the people that can help me all have track marks and tattoos, and they curse a lot, right? You need to... You know what, Kirsten? This is a lifelong problem. This is from a lifetime of snorting anything that you could put up your nose, right? Having this huge honker broken about 14 times, maybe more. But Navage, I've done it on the air, believe it or not, if I'm really having a bad day. And the other thing that screws me up, people, believe it or not, is every time you see me, I'm sitting down, right? Every time you see me, I'm sitting down. But in the real world, I don't sit down. For real. I don't ever put my body into the seated position. I know that sounds stupid. I don't do it. I squat. I'll get into a squatted position, almost like a gargoyle looks like. And that's how I work. Or I stand up and I do things. But I do not sit in a chair like this unless I'm filming. So on top of everything else, or working on a watch. Right? Or working on a watch. Goddess Divine says, Navage looks painful. Here's the lifeboat doing an advertisement for Navage. Navage is not painful at all. It's actually pretty pleasant once you get used to it. It's a saltwater bath that is warm, that goes up the nose and then comes back down. But it's actually pretty pleasant. But I've damaged this baby really, really badly. I have a horrendously deviated septum. But yeah, I snorted a lot of blow mostly. Like that's really what I did the most damage with. But then right towards the end of my career in drugs, somebody turned me on to the concept of the hot rail, which was a methamphetamine thing where you take a piece of glass and you heat it until it's almost white hot. And then you use it just like a straw, like you would with Coke or whatever. But when the meth hits the glass, it vaporizes, right? It doesn't turn into smoke, it turns into vapor. And because vapor expands later, you go like this, and it goes into your lungs, right? You inhaled it, and it has not expanded. And then it would get in your lungs. You've never seen anything like it. Like you put this little line out, and the guy goes, oh, and it just blows a cloud out that looks like the beginning of a Kiss rock concert. You know what I mean? You look like the smoke machine at a Kiss show. But the hot rail did a lot of damage. If you've never done that and you're out there in the world now and someone shows you this cool idea, very cool concept, gets you super, super high, will absolutely destroy your nose, and it will do it overnight. It's just, I'm telling you, from the heart, right? This isn't an anti-drug show. I don't care if you're getting high. That's the truth. I don't care if you're getting high. Don't bring it here. And what I mean by that is, you can come here high, but don't tell us, don't glorify drug use on this channel or we'll get rid of you. But you can show up high for the rest of your life. Just don't glorify it here, because we don't glorify drugs. There are exceptions to that rule. Let me rephrase that. I got nothing against the drugs that they're using right now to treat PTSD in this country and in this world. You feel me? I got nothing against any drug that they're using to treat PTSD. One of psilocybin cubensis mushrooms, and they're having success that buries anything that a pharmaceutical company has ever done. Think I'm playing? Research it. Mushrooms may be the golden ticket for depression, and certainly is pointing to be the golden ticket for severe PTSD, for really severe PTSD. Our soldiers who are blessed enough to fall into this because they're not getting pushed into it by the government. They're not having people that are helping them. They're not doing any of that, right? This is hail the neti pot. Yes, be careful with neti pots. Neti pots make me nervous. Here's why I like the Navage. It comes with this little thing you got to put in the top, right? And you clip it down. That's supposed to stop any of that stuff that can end up doing like the genius that did a neti pot off of a garden hose and ended up getting some amoeba thing up in his dome piece, and that was the end of it. Gotta be careful when you start snorting stuff, but be careful, right? If my advice would be maybe super boiling hot water and then let it get down to a temperature that isn't gonna hurt you. Great comment. This is a lot of truth to this, right? I'm hearing this everywhere, Rat City Princess. I'm hearing this everywhere, right? I was reading a report done recently where they were doing a test with soldiers coming back with severe PTSD. People who sit up in the middle of the night screaming from nightmares, which, by the way, is a disease that, an ailment that I understand. This is the worst feeling in the world. If you've never had a nightmare that will make you literally wake up screaming, this is the worst feeling in the world. Please, Tammy C, do me a favor too. And don't be upset, all right? Because it takes a long time, right? Sometimes for me. But if you send me an email, Tammy, and you put into the comments that this is about complex PTSD and mushroom therapy, if you put that in the header, I'm going to respond to you. It might take a couple of days. It might take a couple of more days. But I'm going to get back to you and reach out to me if this is something you're serious about. Because if you have complex PTSD, there's more that I can talk about with this with you. I'm getting chocolate shrooms for my condition. I'll let you know how it works. Excellent, Annette. We would love to know how it works. He made more progress on bench press, 180 pounds. Sushi Phil, well played. Huh? How's this? Great comment. I am working on my eating disorder and body dysmorphia daily. Yesterday, I made a new personal best, I guess, on bench press, 180 pounds. Well played, right? The next is going to be the big 2 plates, right? Good for you. That's awesome. That is awesome. And it's setting goals and going out and achieving them. We talk about that a lot here on the Lifeboat, right? Putting pen to paper every single day, setting goals and actually trying to achieve those goals. If your goal in coming to the Lifeboat is to stop doing chemicals, and that is as far as you've thought it through, that's fine. Let's get you off the chemicals. But when you get off chemicals, it's time to set a brand new goal. Because you know what? You can't even set a goal when you're on chemicals, right? That would be a stupid thing to do. You want to get me as liquored up as you possibly can and then say, let's talk about the direction we're going to take the Lifeboat. Like, that'd be a great idea. No, you want to make decisions while you're clear-headed, right? And preferably when the sun has just come up. We make great decisions when the lights are on. We're not so good when it's dark. Cup of coffee. I enjoy listening to your point of view. I'm married to an addict, 9 years free of heroin. Cannabis maintenance helps tremendously with anxiety and PTSD. Excellent. And I'm glad that is working for you. I really am. I'm glad that is working for you. I would never be able to do that. I'm just keeping it real. Now, I use cannabis currently. I have only been using it, I think, for 5 days. I think last night was the 5th night. 5 nights without a nightmare, right? For somebody who has severe nightmares. I went 5 nights with no nightmares. And that's really a beautiful thing, man. It really is. But I don't take the stuff during the day because I've got issues. And I know that I could, I'm not going to kill myself on weed, right? It's never going to be anything like that. But I can absolutely become out of control. And I have a friend right now, a very close friend who is being really going through a struggle with diagnosis. And the best that they can come up with is that this is a type of cannabis induced psychosis. Look at Squirrel. Squirrel just heard something. What do you got? That is a very observant pussycat. Do you think someone's going to feed you something? She got all excited. She thought that might have been a can opener. She's not going to be happy with me now. Charlie Murphy says 132 in chat and 70 thumbs up. I think we can do better. People, don't mess with Charlie Murphy. This is the first man. This is the first man that ever hit the subscribe button. Ever. It's the first man that ever hit the subscribe button. He hit the subscribe button before I knew I had a channel. How about that? I was just a guy surfing YouTube, but because he's a very close friend of my brothers and my family now, he was the very first person to hit subscribe. So don't mess with Charlie Murphy, man. Charlie! Ketamine. Don't know if anyone has mentioned ketamine drip therapy for depression, anxiety. Haven't tried it, but I've heard of it a lot. Okay, here's my take on the ketamine thing. Okay, I've abused ketamine. I've abused mushrooms, right? As much as you can. Here's what I mean by that. You can abuse ketamine, right? There are people, you can do a lot of ketamine. You can continue to do a lot of ketamine. It's a lot harder. Mushrooms are a very difficult drug to abuse. And here's why I don't take issue with shrooms. If you wanted to do mushrooms every day of your life, it's not possible. You hear that? It's not possible. If you disagree with me on this, then you have not done a lot of mushrooms. But the people who have will back me up on this, because the way, how we've talked about how we throw, you can email me. Absolutely, you can email me, please. You throw a light switch, right? You throw a light switch. Heroin throws a switch on the MU receptor, right? And so when the shrooms let all of that good feeling stuff out, or LSD lets all that stuff out, your brain has to build all that back up to be able to pull off that kind of trip again. Or you're going to have to take titanic amounts of acid or shrooms. Like I remember doing the, I agree with you in that. Shrooms should never be done. And as a kid, I ate 7 and 8 grams and, tripped for really long periods of time and had trip that was so strong that it was, I don't think that's what the drug was intended to be used for. I really don't. That's not to say in the PTSD therapy, there are doctors that will take people up to like 1.5 grams. That's it. That's a pretty heavy dose of good shrooms. But if it's a guided thing that you're doing, I'm very familiar with Subutex. Currently, I am on the same drug, but with I have naltrexone added to my Subutex, but I'm taking it right now. I'll be on it for the rest of my life, Rosemary. But what I take is called Suboxone. Slightly different. Same. Buprenorphine is the drug, right? And it's the exact same drug, right? It's just that Subutex doesn't have naltrexone in it, so there's no Narcan. A lot of moms have started microdosing. A lot of moms have. And there's a lot of evidence to back up that there is really some empirical stuff to say that microdosing may have a better effect than SSRIs and some of the other treatments that people are using to treat some forms of depression. Yeah, Bruce. A lot of doctors were treating people as Bruce says. I remember Subutex. My sister was prescribed that not too long before they just had her on Suboxone. You hear this right now. There are doctors who think for whatever reason they prefer using Subutex. I've heard this. I prefer the Suboxone. When I'm helping other people, I prefer the Suboxone because it doesn't play well with others, and it discourages mixing drugs. Right, where Subutex, you can mix Subutex with other drugs depending on what order you take it in. It's a little bit more difficult to do it with Suboxone. Truthfully, you're not going to do it well with Subutex either because both of those drugs play king on the mountain with whatever you've got attached to your receptors. Right, it kind of kicks the other stuff off. Yes, microdosing on shrooms is getting a lot of traction. Rat City Princess says, I am also on Suboxone. Saved my life. because I'm in constant pain. I'll probably be on it the rest of my life. I'm okay with that. Me too. I am a person, right? I didn't get all of those concussions by not injuring myself. I've had so many arthroscopic surgeries, it would scare the hell out of you. I really do have all of the pain. Like, you've never met anybody that's addicted to heroin who doesn't tell you how much pain they're in, right? Because there's something to it. I mean, now some of that pain was because of the drugs itself. And when I was able to get the drugs out of my body and actually detox for real, and differentiate between the psychosomatic pain and the real pain. Now, psychosomatic pain hurts just as much as real pain because the same chemical reaction is taking place. But in one of those chemical reactions, this thing didn't hit my head, right? I just feel the pain of it. But in both cases, you still feel the same pain. So don't get mad at me if I ever talk about psychosomatic pain or the pain that's not real. By real, I mean there was no act. There was no... nothing brought on the pain. There was no instant trauma. It's just your brain's chemistry creating the feeling of pain. Just as bad, hurts just as real, right? And addicts deal with that a lot. Suboxone can take that away for a lot of addicts. So the reason I got all the way off, people, I took it all the way down. I tapered until I was off. And then I realized that I can't deal with the pain angle of it. You know what, Rat City Princess? I don't know what your beliefs are, but I'm going to be saying a prayer, and everybody else here can do whatever they would like with the... but that's what the ones mean here. To me, it means, please tell me you can still see me. I just got a post that said I'm having internet... see, this is all brand new stuff, and with the high speed, it just told me my speed dipped really bad. Can you still see me, people? Well, I'm seeing one, so you must be seeing me. Rat City Princess, I am really glad that you have found the lifeboat. You are among friends. Oh, Rick, I am so sorry to hear that. I am so sorry. Rick Smith says, Rosemary, none of them touch pain. Just had an epidural. You know, I'm not a doctor, people. I'm not a doctor. I know a crap load about things that get you high, right? And it's all because I went out and did a ton of dope. And then when I got sober, it's the only thing that I wanted to read about and study because it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Oh, Rosemary, I'm sorry to hear that. We get some thoughts and prayers for Rosemary as well, people. Rosemary says, I have very severe aggressive Crohn's disease, and I'm in and out of surgery a few times a year, inevitably. That's a struggle. That really is a struggle, and especially because it means in and out of pain medication a couple of times a year. It's very, very rare that you're going to go in for a surgery that is not going to require that you take medication for pain when you're done. And by the way, there's no dishonor in treating pain. Everybody get that? There's no dishonor in treating pain. We don't crap on anybody for taking pain meds. We have people who come here every day who are going to be on pain medication for the rest of their lives. And they have to be on pain medication. The other option is to be on pain. I have nothing against anybody that wants to not be in pain. Nothing, right? There's nothing wrong with that. People should have the right to not be in pain. Doesn't make you a drug addict. Let's not mess those two things up. If you think your taking of pain meds has become out of control, and what I mean by that is most pain specialists, and I'm not busting in anybody's chops, don't get mad at me, but most pain specialists are actually going to give you enough pain medication to treat your pain. That's the truth. I've been through a lot of them. But we don't want our pain treated anymore because I want you to think of it in terms of this, right? I want you to think of it in terms of this. If I break my femur, biggest bone in my body, this is going to hurt. It's going to suck, right? It's not going to be pleasant. It's going to take a very strong painkiller to take away that pain. Everybody get that? So if I put the strong painkiller in my body, let's say that painkiller is fentanyl. and I put fentanyl in my body and it takes care of that pain. If I didn't have the broken thigh and I put the fentanyl in my body, there's no pain for it to take care of. It will treat spiritual pain and emotional pain instead. How's that? That's what it does. So if you've got physical pain in the body, then it's not really taken away from all of the other stuff. It's treating what it's supposed to be treating. And trust me, where you go off the rails is where you go, one pill will treat that leg, but two will treat that leg and the fact that that girl broke my heart in 1987. Right? Kristen says, ketamine terrified me 2 weeks ago when my spouse had it as part of the anesthesia for surgery. And when coming out of it, he did not respond well, wide-eyed and screaming. I'm going to guess that you were talking to me from the other side of the planet. Am I right? Are you an Australian? Kristen, what part of the world are you in? I would be curious to know. Ketamine is a frightening drug. It is. There is a phenomenon that happens, and everybody's different with ketamine, but there's a phenomenon that happens that people who abuse drugs call K-hole, right? And K-hole is like taking a pair of binoculars and turning them around backwards. You ever do that when you were a kid? And it makes it look like a long, or like you're like tunnel vision, or you're looking up from the bottom of a well. It literally blacks out your peripheral vision and you just get a tunnel. And it's terrifying. Now, I don't like any drug that scares me. And I promise you, ketamine scared the crap out of me. Now, granted, I injected it, but it's a terrible drug. I'm not a fan at all. I've also snorted it. It was a little less frightening, but I still don't like it. It is a drug that is, it walks a line that, yeah, maybe in really small quantities, but I'm just not a fan. Well, here's a great comment. Speak Life Garden Homestead and permaculture. U.S. pain patients have been so abused by the stigmatization of opioids. I can't take it. They are forced tapering and abandoning patients. Yep, 1 point of pain care to point pain. Yeah, well, and here's what's going to happen. I got news for you, right? The drug addict is not going to go without. Capiche? You're in Dallas, Texas. They gave your husband ketamine in a hospital in Dallas, Texas. Holy crap. I'm not kidding. I'd be coming unglued. You don't hear about it as much on this, on our soil, right? It's rampant in other countries that ketamine is really heavily used in the anesthesia process, but most people don't like farting around with it in the U.S. because of exactly what you saw. Man, I'd write a Yelp review on that doctor. For real. I don't think they should be using ketamine, and they don't have to. There's 8,000 other drugs they could have used. Oh, wow. My hubs broke his elbow 2 years ago. C+ math was still big, so I wasn't allowed in the hospital, and kept trying to inform them that he was a recovering addict. They ignored me, and they gave him ketamine and fent. Oh, my Lord. Oh, my Lord. I hope he is either gained recovery again. When he came off, it was a horrible come down. Well, but he's back with you then, right? He's back and he's sober. Well, thank God for that. You know, it's a horrible come down and all of that, but thank God he's back. Scooby with a Dragon Ball. Yeah, I mean, ketamine is a terrifying substance. You know who hates it and had a really bad experience with it is Lady Fiona Chrisman, who is by the way, thoughts and prayers for Lady Fiona. She is really going through it, people. She is really going through it. She's got the C+ math for the first time, and it's really starting to get into her lungs, and I love her. I really do. So thoughts and prayers, please, for Lady Crispin. She means a lot to me. It would mean a lot to me if y'all keep her in your thoughts and prayers. She's just a really, really incredible human. And there aren't that many of them left, if you really want to know the truth, but she is one of them, to be sure. Write a review for CMS for the ketamine doctor. Also, you can Yelp. Thank you. Thank you. For real. Because I want to tell you something, man. Aw. Aw. I like that. I know it's off topic, but it's snowing in Pennsylvania. This makes me happy. Well, you know what? Anything that makes you happy is not off topic, right? For real. There's something really lovely about just saying, you know what? That makes me happy. Thank you. What? Oh my God. Hey, where's my mother? Where's my mother when I need her? Rat City Princess says, this channel is a good influence. I've been watching a lot lately. Caught myself saying farting around instead of F-bombing. Thank you, Tommy. You just absolutely blew away Mama Scoville and everybody else that ever said I was a bad influence. Right? Now the world knows. See that? I am a good influence. Ketamine is a really... it's okay, Roberta. You know the really cool thing? You're going to love this. She says, Tommy, I overslept. Here's the good news, right? We record these things. They don't go anywhere. There's 1,000, right? Listen to this. There's 1,400 of these. I've got 1,400 hours of me talking on this channel. So if you miss it, I promise, Roberta, we're going to record it and it'll be there for you forever. But it is nice to have you here where we can talk to you. And I want to tell you something. Somebody said to me the other day, I've only been in one of your live feeds where I actually had an ad during a live feed. Like, how's that possible? And I said, that day when I was getting everything set up, I was doing it on my iPad instead of doing it on my laptop. And I thought, you know what? Instead of coming back immediately after the program to monetize, I'll just monetize before I go live. And they will run commercials during the live feed, which really is counterproductive to what we do, right? I mean, you can't really, it's going to make it really hard for people to communicate. So, and I was talking to somebody about this last night, and they said, oh, I don't think you should do that. I was like, it was an accident. If I had known that that happened, I wouldn't have done it. So if you happen to, if you see a video after the fact, there are going to be ads you got to skip through. Right? We gotta keep the lights on and buy microphones and things like that. But the rest of the but on the lives, I'm never gonna do that to you. If you're able to get here live, you can watch me without any commercials. Oh, what a nice thing to say. I don't always watch, but just seeing you in my feed brings comfort because you're doing good work and you care. God bless. Well, God bless you too. And you know what? I would like that to be, I mean, honestly, that's kind of the resource that we want to be. We want people to know that we're going to be so rock solid at the fives that if you're just having one of those days, like there's a guy here, Cujo, right? And the people that have been on the boat a while will immediately know what I'm talking about. But we got a guy named Cujo, and Cujo said one day he was probably 2 months or 3 months into the boat. And he said, hey, I found a group in my town that does this, right? And he said, and I went to it in person, and it's awesome, right? He said, so I'm probably not going to be coming by here anymore. And I said, okay, I think that's great, but just stop in every once in a while and let us know you're all right. And he does. He pops in and he says, hey, still sober? I got a great group I go to. People, you know what? If you get fantastic and walk away from the lifeboat, then the lifeboat won. Right? This was all the other things that the geniuses told us in the beginning. If you're really good at what you do, right, then the people that you're helping are going to leave and you're not going to get any views. I'm like, you people are all literally boneheads, right? The beautiful thing about this is we never thought it could be a success. So anything that happens after that, we're just, we never thought there was any hope of this happening. We just wanted to do just what it is now. We're a place where you could come, right? Tommy, just curious, were any drugs off limits to you, or have you tried everything? Love this channel. I tried everything, with the exception. So here's the deal on that one. And sadly, there are fraternity houses playing drinking games with me based on how many times I say, here's the deal. I actually got an email about that, which is kind of sad. But here's the deal with that for real. There are drugs that have come out since I stopped doing drugs. So I don't have any perspective on those, right? So, some of the newer versions of the methyl-based drugs. Now, that said, I've done them. I've just done them under different names, right? Like you can create all of these fake trippy feeling drugs that you call ecstasy. I've done every kind of analog or fake kind of X you could ever do. So if it's methyl dioxy, whatever the hell the other two initials are, they all kind of feel the same anyway. So, but there are drugs I have not done, but they came out very recently, right? Mr. Wolf, I'm glad that you found this too. I am really glad that you found this. And he makes a good point. He says, I'm glad you found the Scoville brothers. Some of you may not be aware of the fact that I have a brother, right? Who looks exactly like me. You see that silver play button right there on the back wall? Right? You should be going, Tommy has a silver play button with 15,000 subscribers? How does he do this? That's because that's my brother's silver play button. And the name of his channel is Chase the Heat. He puts up super positive content. He never curses, but he does an awful lot of really hot challenges. He's sort of the Babe Ruth of pepper eating. Was I on with Bryce? Bryce and I have been talking all week about a bunch of projects we're doing, actually. Bryce and I are going to be doing a lot together. I dig Bryce. I really do. Bryce is she's a really fun person to talk to and interview with, and her husband runs like a super cool kind of yoga thing, I'm into yoga, so I just really I like everything about Esoteric Atlanta. I like how she does her stuff. I like she and her husband, so I very much want to continue working with them. We're doing our thing tomorrow. That's going to be in the can tomorrow. CK, then she's really fast with editing and everything she does. So it will be happening really quickly. That's a nice thing to say. That really is a nice thing to say. Jen says, you will have one, Tommy. She's referring to the silver play button. Well, thank you. But I remember having a conversation with my brother in the very beginning, and he said something about play buttons, and I was serious as all get out. I said, there is no chance whatsoever that I'm ever going to get it. It's not that kind of a channel. And I think he believed that as well, and I wasn't bummed out by that. I swear to you, I wasn't. That didn't seem like that big a deal. Now I have come to realize that, and I also was terrified of the concept because the last thing in the world I wanted was to ever get big enough where we couldn't help one another. And I honestly feared that if I started to get much over 7,000 or 8,000, I was going to be screwed over. And the truth is, we are putting things into place that it's not, believe it or not, people, because your captain may be burnt out in a lot of ways, truthfully. And I may have a couple of head injuries, but I want to tell you something. This may sound nuts, but bear with me on this. And this is why you stick around to the end, by the way. But stick with me. I believe, right? And I'm not comparing myself to anybody famous, but I'm using famous people as an example. But like Walt Disney was by all accounts not really fantastic at anything he did. But what he was fantastic at was assembling people that were fantastic at everything that they did. And he was a visionary to the point where people around him used to say that it was almost like he was looking back from something he had already done, right? Like he was looking back from a future that only he had seen. Does that make sense with everybody? Okay. That's how I feel with the boat. True story. And I have come to the realization that the bigger this puppy gets, the easier this is going to be for me, not the harder. That may not make sense to you guys yet, but it's gonna, and it's gonna quickly. I got another prediction. This one's gonna blow you away. We're at 15,500 people. I'd like to hit 20,000 before Christmas. So, we've got some work to do. Andrea says, I've only been watching this channel for 2 months and I have already learned so much. Fantastic. I really appreciate that. That is kind of you to say. And you know what? No, that's not what I said, Bunting Clip Clop. What I said is, he's not famous, really for his creativity. What he's famous for was assembling. This guy didn't. He was better at assembling teams of talented individuals than anybody alive. That's what I was saying. So don't send me hate mail that says Walt Disney wasn't creatively talented, for the love of God. What I'm saying is his skill lied in putting people together that were far more talented than he was in everything, in every department. Like his goal was to seek out people that were smarter than he was, and that's a rare thing, or more talented than he was. Most people don't want to do that. I am well aware of the fact that I'm usually not the most talented person in the room, which makes my life a whole lot easier. When was I on with Bryce? And what's the name of that video? It's going to be, I believe it's called, it is something, it'll have the name Drew Peterson in it. It's going to be video 1 of our Drew Peterson series. Video number 2 is the big one. Everybody get that? I'm sorry, people. Hold on one second. All right. Yeah, it's gonna be something having to do with Drew Peterson, because the next one we're doing is gonna be the true crime. What happened to Drew Peterson's missing wife? Yeah. I don't have an addiction, but as a chronic pain patient, they've kind of laid these same issues before us. Both Unity patients deserve opioid, whatever meds work for them, while teaching respect for the tool. Well, I mean, in a perfect world, that's really how it ought to be, right? You really do have to respect the fact that this stuff can kill you, right? It's really, it's a fantastic thing to relieve somebody's pain. That's how it ought to be, right? Nobody wants anybody in pain. But what we don't want is the treatment to be worse than the ailment. And unfortunately, in my opinion, and I was a junkie for a really long time, right? I wasn't an addict. I was a junkie. I was a guy that lived in a spoon, right? And put needles in my arms. I was a junkie. And I'm telling you right now that the Bayer company, the people that brought you Bayer aspirin, okay, they held the patent on heroin. And right, it was a name brand drug. It was a tweak to morphine that made morphine faster. Literally. It made it so that it could pass the blood-brain barrier and do it much quicker, and it never needed to get any stronger. I promise you, it didn't need to get any stronger. We didn't need a drug 50 times stronger than heroin, right? That doesn't make any sense. And now we have drugs that are 50 times stronger than fentanyl. So you know what's coming next, right? A drug that's 50 times stronger than phytonidazines? I don't know. The Department of Defense, right, DARPA, has bankrolled a project to try to come up with a vaccine to so that you can vaccinate people against opioids. Think I'm playing? Go back. We even show I showed the documents. I did a video on this. You can go back. Much love to my fellow pain patients, he says. And you know what? Listen, people, there's a big difference between being dependent and being addicted. You say, no, there isn't. There is. If two people are dependent, right? When one person's dependent, one person's addicted. They can both go through the detox process. One will immediately, after that detox process is over, begin to start thinking about doing the drug again. One will not. The dependent person won't start to get that feeling of being so uncomfortable in their own skin. That is unique to those of us who are drug addicts. And it's why we continue to use, in spite of the fact that we know that what we're doing is hurting us, right? It's kind of the definition of addiction. Continuing stupid behavior, right? Continuing to destroy ourselves in the face of all kinds of evidence that should have stopped it. Sound about right? Okay. Soylent Green, just for the record, is not people. I've been saying that for years, and now we've got Jeremy here trying to perpetrate that. It's actually made from grub worms, and a lot of people in Hollywood seem to be pushing the whole grub worm thing. Charlie Murphy, make it a great day, my brother. Be safe. Bunting Clip Clop, glad you're here. Hold on one sec. I was about to leave. Can we get some thoughts and prayers for Nacho's mom? Soylent Green is people. No, it's just propaganda. They've been saying that for years. It's grub worms and what's the other thing they're trying to get? You realize they're really trying to get, like, Hollywood stars are really advocating eating worms. This is a thing. This is a thing. Zen Wen, who's famous for donating all month and literally not keeping track or doing anything else, has just hit her limit for the month on the 5th, right? Or is it the 6th? Yesterday I didn't even get the day of the week right. I'm pretty sure today's the 6th, actually. I don't have my glasses. The watch I'm wearing actually does have a date window, but I've got no glasses on. But yeah, today is the 6th. All right, people, I really am going to stop this show. I promise. I really am going to stop this show. I just wanted to make sure that Zen, thank you so much. But you're officially cut off on the 6th. Now you got to wait the whole month before you can do it again. I love you, hon. I really do. Hey, this is such a great animal. That's a cat in a basket. We'll see you this evening, people.